family out there, so stay on the lookout for that. Now, let's go to the news stories, family. And like I said, I always find news stories that sometimes it's just prevalent about something that's going on in society with our people that we all should know about. Sometimes it's just obscure things that I find, but realizing that, you know, these are things that we need to talk about as well, right? So let's get into it, family. The first thing I want to talk about, and this was maybe last week, right? This was maybe last week. So my brother Snoop Dogg, who I love, by the way, hip-hop legend, one of my favorite rappers, can't take nothing away from him. So Snoop Dogg made a comment about WAP, about Cardi B's song, you know, Wet Ass Pussy. You know what I mean? So he makes a comment about the song, basically stating that, and I don't want to misquote the brother, but basically stating that women shouldn't speak the way that she's speaking in that song, right? Like women shouldn't approach hip-hop from such a sexual angle. You know what I mean? I take from the clip I seen, that's what he's trying to say, right? So let's look at that. Because should rappers, male or female, conduct themselves a certain way? Like, should they be thinking about young people and thinking about how the audience is going to perceive the music, how influential hip hop is? Shouldn't they be thinking about that, right? So to that question, I say yes, they should be. But here's the problem, right? Even because, like I said, I love Snoop, but I got to give him a little backlash, you know what I mean? Because if we're talking about negative content, right? If we're talking about content that could possibly have a negative effect on kids, have a negative effect on black culture, black society, right? That's the pot calling the kettle black a little bit. Because Snoop, as much as we love him, he's ushered in some of the most destructive shit in the last 25 years as far as hip-hop is concerned, if you want to keep it real. Like, bitches ain't shit, ushering in weed, ushering in, he didn't do it by himself, but ushering in this pimping type of mentality. We got to be real. So you can't really say shit about Cardi B saying she got a wet ass pussy, which, I mean, men in hip hop talk about their dick all day. What you can do to it, how they want to show it to you, what they gonna do to you when they get there. Like, this is normal jargon for men in hip hop. You know what I mean? So I say, if we gonna be like, look, we should change how we approach hip hop as far as the language is concerned, as far as the angles we use to get our point across. If we're going to change that shit, we got to change it for everybody. You know what I mean? Because when it comes to like a Cardi B or a Meg Thee Stallion, again, I respect these sisters because they've been able to come out of particular situations to better themselves using music as a vehicle, and I rock with that shit. But, you know, sexually suggestive lyrics from a woman don't really do shit for me. You know what I mean? It's not easy for me to listen to. It's never been something that I've been into, but they got a fan base, and it's a lot of people that like them. And if they want to talk about how they pussy wet, you're right. It does sound jarring to hear a woman speak like that, right? But, I mean, shit, it sounds just as bad to hear you talk about your dick. It sounds just as bad to hear late 30, 40-year-old, 50-year-old men talk about pimping. Talk about all this shit that's like degradation and has a negative effect on our community at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So we can't be that hypocritical. We can't forget how we got to where we at. Because part of the reason why Cardi B or Meg Thee Stallion is able to talk about they pussy on a record, that was ushered in by the Snoop Doggs, by the Too Shorts, by the upperclassmen of hip-hop veterans who've chosen to use a particular type of content in their music. You know what I mean? So if we're going to get rid of the shit, we got to get rid of it all the way around. We can't just pick and choose. You know what I mean? Because I remember when that song came out. When that song came out, it was some controversy about the content and what they was saying. I'm like, what the fuck are we... Wait, are we forgetting how hip-hop operates? I get it. So if you're a man, you can talk about your dick, you can talk about pimping, you can talk about all this shit that's has a negative effect on not just our community, but society and at large. But they can't? Nah, it can't be that kind of double standard. If we want to step back and take a look at how do we still enjoy this music, how do we still put this music out, how do we still be a part of this beautiful culture without some of the negative aspects, without talking to our women like that, without talking to our men like that. You see what I'm saying? So it's a convoluted situation, but Snoop is wrong on that. There's no way you can criticize her song when you talk a whole bunch of that type of shit still to this day. See, because we got to give credit. Like, I see people evolving, and I understand where we come from in our neighborhood, so I don't really get down on people that hard. But I see Snoop evolving with the gospel records and the more worldly records, just trying to make music that appeases everybody. But the core of what he do is bitches ain't shit. That's kind of the core of his message to a degree. You know what I mean? Which is cool, because when you get older and you can peel back the layers of what somebody's talking about, you can get into understanding the context. Like, when most rappers, when they first start off, that whole bitches ain't shit ideology that Snoop and a lot of West Coast guys was holding on to, that was primarily based out of how you're being treated by a woman. Like, it's a woman you see all the time, and she ain't giving you no rhythm, she ain't talking to you, you can't flag her down, you can't do none of that. And now all of a sudden you popular, now all of a sudden you got music on the radio, now all of a sudden people in the city know you for doing said thing. Now women got time for you. Now women calling you back. You know what I mean? So that'll make a man be like, bitch, that's a negative effect you having on me almost, because you didn't want me when I didn't have nobody. You didn't want me when things weren't going that good for me. So I understand the ideology and how some of this was framed, but you're not doing all this thinking when you hear the music. Kids ain't doing all this. They're not using all these rationales when listening to the music. They just listening to it and taking heed. You know what I mean? So, yeah, hip-hop need to make some changes altogether. Not just a Cardi B or this influx of stripper/rappers that we have that are females. Yeah, that's some... It could be said how some of those things need to be changed. That's true. But at the end of the day, the men need to change some shit too. Like, I'm 40, about to be 41 next year. Listening to a young dude talk about pimping, listening to a young dude talk about what he gonna do to a girl, getting money out of a bitch, all this, that shit just don't sound as cool no more. You see what I'm saying? And for Snoop, being a grown man who 50-something, or about to be 50, that's a little hypocritical, brother. You know what I mean? Because Cardi B, it wouldn't be no Cardi B, no Meg Thee Stallion. It wouldn't be none of these female rappers if y'all niggas didn't start it off with the negative connotations and speaking negatively about women. Y'all started that shit. Female rappers didn't start that shit. Male rappers started that shit. You know what I mean? So we got to be honest about that and call whoever out when things like that occur. You feel me?